Hey, welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. I'm Mark Williams, Global Scout, joined by Shane Laflin and Jason Key. We're catching Jason in between two flights, and so a crazy post July weekend. So evaluation period, and so we appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, hit the red button below and subscribe, and know when the next episode is. Interact with us, leave a comment. We love to hear your feedback and maybe a player that you saw that stuck out that we didn't catch. But fellas, we had a busy second half of July. We covered Adidas and their championship there in Birmingham. Shane was there. All three of us went through the Nike EYBL there in Augusta during the week. And then I ended up at the end game in Atlanta, and Jason ended up in Mannheim, Pennsylvania, one of our favorite places in the world, there for the Under Armour final. So we're just there with us, but we're making it work. We're making it work. So this is live. Full steam ahead. Here we go. But hey, let's get started with Adidas. Shane spent 3 days there, all the way through and at Adidas. And so Shane, share with us how was the event and players that we need to know?
I mean, the event was fantastic. It was my second time that I had been to the, that Hoover facility, the Finley Center. And Adidas did a really cool job. Jason and I and Joey for a couple of days actually stuck our heads in the boys championships in Omaha, which was fantastic. Omaha really rolled out the red carpet, and everybody who was involved in that did a great job. And they did a really cool thing. They kind of staged off a middle court and had it lifted, and you were able to kind of see in a circle several different courts, and then there was elevated seating for college coaches, and then hospitality was right there in the middle. So you grab whatever you needed, walk up, there's a staging area, and then below that staging area was plenty of seats, kind of stadium seating style, to where you weren't looking over people's heads or over people's shoulders, all that kind of stuff. So as far as the event, the shoe companies do a good job of branding it and having, representation there and things. 3 days in Birmingham were great. It's a bracket play. So sometimes you have some first round matchups that aren't, it just is what it is because it's seeding. We had a couple play-in teams did a really good job of making it, as Adidas allows gold teams to play their way into that top bracket. Nice. So a couple play-in teams got a couple good wins post play-in game.
Right.
And then about Sweet 16, Elite 8 on, they were really, really good games. And that's not to say there weren't some before that, but just that, every single game was really good. And compared down to the Final Four, which ended up Mass Rivals versus San Antonio Finest, and then Minnesota Metro Stars versus Team Lex Nation, or Team Nation in this case. And the Adidas stuff, just so they didn't have the two Lex teams in the 3 SSB 17U, and both close games and teams peaking at the right times and executing teams and programs that have been strong. And I guess you could say, I don't know if you want to call them surprise or what you want to call them, but Mass Rivals did a great job of getting better as it progressed. We saw them play some really good games and at Prime Event East. We were all up there. And then Team Nation, Joey's group, being the youngest overall team in the bracket, making it to the Final Four. I'm not going to say surprise again, but, did a good job getting there, and then played a close game with the Metro Stars, who are about half rising seniors and about half rising juniors, and then an outstanding rising sophomore. So, once we got to that Final Four, it looked like going into that last day, Finest was the favorite, and they delivered. And Jason, that one was a block.
We got a nice shot there of Jason.
Prop it on his laptop, Jay. Prop it on your laptop.
I did.
All right.
Hey, we're making it work. Jay's still in the airport. We're doing it.
Southwest plug behind him, no big deal.
There you go.
Little corporate deal we got going on. And then like I said, Finest peaking at the right time, playing their best basketball. And I would say, through July, you had Carly Wenzel shooting the ball at a pretty high clip. Sammy Wagner really started to knock down the 3 ball and get on the glass, like with a more specific effort than I had seen in the past. Belly Malpin was playing fantastic, and then the eventual MVP, Christine Iwala, was fantastic. She finished better in this event than I've ever seen her finish. She was a monster. She controlled the paint at both ends and really stepped it up. And then you had L.A. Sneed really growing up as the spring and summer progressed, 2025. So she hadn't even played a high school basketball game yet.
Right.
But defense runs in her blood. I think it's a rule in her house with Anissa Hastings, the former Anissa Hastings, played in the Final Four at Texas, was a massively successful defensive stopper. And you had L.A. Sneed learn how to take care of the ball, learn how to get her team into their offenses, and then really pressure the basketball. And created some havoc both in the semifinal and the final. And she was actually named defensive most outstanding player. You had, several people along college coach area and the sidelines and some of the Adidas people talking about how outstanding she was. And then for them to learn that she hadn't played a high school basketball game yet, they're pretty taken aback. So
Don Whitener.
Adidas did a good job. They did an all tournament team.
Don Whitener.
And I will, I'll give you. The all tournament team was a second, wrong note. Jalen Bristow from Team Nation, Amaya Battle from the Metro Stars, Sunaja Agara, Metro Stars, Ashlyn Jackson, who did a great job of leading the finest all year long. Carly Wenzel, Aluchi Okananwa from the Mass Rivals, Steph Ingram from Candace Parker Hoop Dreams, Bella Fauntleroy, who had a fantastic summer with the Banshees, Tony Morgan, Central Florida Elite, Chloe Kitts, Central Florida Elite. As I mentioned, MVP was Christine Uwala. Defensive most outstanding player, L.A. Steen, and they did a breakout player, which was Olivia McGill of the Metro Stars, rising sophomore, who is ultra competitive and all around very skilled, great with the ball. So yeah, I hope I'm not leaving out anything. The Lady Jets, Jason Terry's group won the 16U,
right?
With arguably missing their best player. 2025 that was out with a broken wrist. So Jet did a great job, and we previously discussed a lot of what we see on the Adidas circuit, so we don't want to take up too much time, as Jason may drop his phone at any minute, so we got to keep it moving. But
laptop, but yeah.
But no, I'm just teasing. It's all good. So that's I just want to highlight maybe the Final Four. We'll talk maybe some stock risers and things from the entire summer later. Absolutely. But off top, that's kind of what stood out to me from the Adidas stop.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're going to take a quick break after that update there from Shane about Adidas. After the break, we're going to talk EYBL. We all three got the chance to pass through during the week, and so we're going to talk about that. So stay with us right after this. Hey, welcome back. Once again, thanks for joining us from the baseline. Shane Laflin, Jason Key, I'm Mark Williams. We appreciate you tuning in. Shane, before the break, talked a little bit about the Adidas Nationals, but we all three got the chance to get through the EYBL. There is nice to have it back in Augusta, which there's kind of history there of ending the summer there, so that was a cool thing. Big congratulations to the Cal Stars for winning the 17U championship in a great back and forth game there with, and then congratulations to 16U champion All Iowa Attack. And so really both good championship games. And Shane, you got to see both games. So why don't you share a little bit about just the quality of play?
The 16U I watched both of them the day before. I got to watch a half because they played at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew it was going to kind of be gritty. You had two teams that really worked well together. And I don't want to say like contrasting styles. I mean, as far as the way they play, I don't want to they played together. So it's not majorly contrasting. I would say like All Iowa kind of played through their forwards, moved the ball, and they kind of play a little bit of a 5-out situation, and they can all shoot it. Essence kind of played, drive and kick versus pass and cut and screen, but they used ball screens really well. They had, if I'm not mistaken, the majority of Essence players are 2024s. All Iowa had a pretty good balance. I think that, Essence, the one that really stood out as the game progressed, I was able to do an interview at halftime. I didn't mention Danielle Carnegie, but overall, she became the most outstanding player to me for Essence. Just a really strong guard, a complete player, really competitive. And then you had Shazadi Wright and Alancia Ramsey for Essence. That was really good as well. If I'm going to get to my notes here, All Iowa had, it's Ali or Ailey Tonke, and then Haley Weiss, and then Ariana Jackson was also pretty good. I mean, they shot it. And All Iowa just, they're so disciplined. But it was a nice back and forth. They got really close. You had Essence had a wonderful cheering section. Their older team did a fantastic job of really having it was just having to be the corner where we did kind of the TD production things. We were right by it, and you could kind of feel the energy. It was kind of cool. And then of course they gave them the cameras a couple times, and so they were prepared for that. So really good back and forth. Proud of the young players for getting through. I admittedly hadn't watched either one until the day before. So I was nervous as hell doing that first interview just because I just didn't want to. And there was a couple names that I was just like, man, I should have, it's just my mistake. I should have asked for pronunciations, but I didn't want to bother the coaches. And
right.
I don't know, I should have done that. So I was a little nervous before that first one, but it was only live. But
as long as you smile, we're okay.
I didn't. That's the other problem too. So I was so like locked in trying to it was, the first time. So, but that was awesome. And then the final, you had Cy Fair peaking at the right time, relatively young, like I'm basically a 50-50 mix of 22s and 23s. And just playing well together. I mean, they, not speaking ill of Carolina, but they blew Carolina out the day before. I was going to kind of watch a little bit of both games. I started in Philly Rise and Cal Stars, and by halftime it was like 25 or 30. So I stayed just because I knew I could maybe go review some film of Cy Fair, and I was pretty familiar with them anyway. So great back and forth. I thought Nyana Robertson had an outstanding summer in general, just from what I heard in previous events to what I heard from you guys before I got there to what I watched. She was outstanding, and I thought was really their most important player in the finals. And then Cal Stars, if I had to pick one that would really did it for me, it's kind of a toss-up. It's between the point guard, Talana Lapolo, and then Amanda Muse, who gave them an exceptional boost off the bench the day before when they were playing Philly. And then I just thought she was outstanding in that final game. I mean, her motor, they got some good players. Sophia Bell, Bria Cunningham, don't get me wrong. Jenna Sai was really good. but Muse really stuck out to me. And then it just happens. It's the execution of the Cal Stars. They run several things very well. I think I wrote down like 7 different things just watching off live in the semifinal that they do differently. And you've got to be able to communicate and scout those things. And I think that's the real basketball aspect of this stuff. And you've got to be ready for it. So, congratulations to them. It was a lot of fun. That halftime interview, much easier because I knew those teams. But Adam Finkelstein was great, kind of gave me some pointers and teed it up nice. So I appreciate that. But that was a lot of fun. And then, so I go sit down, we don't have to do anything after halftime. So I just go sit over on the other side, and the boys are coming in next. And the next thing I know, I've got Patrick Ewing here, Penny Hardaway, and Larry Brown here. So that was kind of cool too.
He was a tad bit excited.
A little bit. It was kind of cool. Dream team.
Yep. Absolutely.
Little Penny's namesake. I mean, come on.
I can't beat that. Now, Jay, me and you were there early, and we'll talk about kids at the end of summer who just had a really good summer. But where were a couple standout players just from you there from the EYBL?
Yeah, following up Shane, me and you spoke specifically about Amanda Muse. But you could see it going throughout the tournament. Coming off the bench and playing behind Bria Cunningham or with Bria at times. I mean, she gave him a real punch inside. And her and Bria, when they're together on the floor, as long as you can guard, they can guard your lineup. There's nothing you can do.
No. And there was one time, we talked about there where Muse hard hedged on the ball screen.
Yeah.
They hit the roll and she sprint across the lane from opposite elbow to the block and blocked it out of bounds. I mean, it was like, for me, it was one of the best plays of the whole tournament. And that was just the energy that she brought.
Kiki Rice, just outstanding. Fairfax Stars, she fought the fight. She did, they had an uphill climb in a lot of their games, that kind of thing. But she would not let it go. And her leadership and playmaking ability is alongside anybody in the country.
She made a case to be the #1 player in the country.
No doubt about it.
She made a case.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, Janiyah Barker, the talent just oozes from her, right? You see her. Shout out to Erica Moon, another 22 on that same SS team. But Janiyah Barker, you're right. Moon is 23, my bad. But Janiyah Barker, the talent just oozes from her. So really interested to see where she goes and follow her career type thing, because the talent's undeniable. Flowers J. Johnson, who really had a big summer, got hurt there that last night I was there with a foot injury, but put on a scoring display at times there for Team Elite. Ruby Whitehorn really made a name for herself, and a couple of games, had big games against opponents.
She had a big game in the second half on Sunday, big time.
I was really impressed with Cal All Ohio. Odeker has really good hands, really soft hands, touching the paint. And the way she uses her shoulder to create space, both shoulders, is really a tough guard in the post. Really soft touch, made a lot of free throws. I really like Odeker. Justine Prasad is the best shooter in the country. I mean, it's volleyball line. It's at any time. I've told the story from Wooten last year a couple of times, but she ended up lottery style with Edwina Brown. Well, she stretched Sunday morning, didn't take a shot. Had an 8 a.m. game, didn't take a shot. And 2 seconds into the game, off a tip and a loose ball, she hits it from volleyball line range. And Edwina Brown looks at me and says, "I've never seen that." And if Edwina Brown's never seen that, it might possibly have never been done. It's Edwina Brown. So same thing. I mean, she just hit shots. Shout out to Basketball Bob, who me and him went through it all game. He gave me kind of his views, and he gave me some stats to back up what I was seeing or to fight what I was seeing, a lot of things. So we had a lot of great conversation going via text, giving me context as to what I was watching from a numbers point of view. I told him he's the wheels of steel, man, on the ones and twos. So invaluable information coming to us, though, as you're watching it live.
Locked into that live stream. I'm convinced he had 4 screens going at once.
I mean, he had to.
I'm like, I had to, I mean, not in a rude manner, but because he was firing stuff off so quickly, and we need to communicate during the day because we're all traveling. I had to put his contact on do not disturb because the phone, it was like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, I got to get back to this stuff a little bit later.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he was firing off numbers all day.
And it was valuable information. Just great stuff. Hannah Steins and Ella Ladine for Cal Storm. Goodness gracious. Hannah Steins is so skilled. And then I've talked about this before, but I got film homework from Shane. As one of my players was Ella Ladine by chance. And I fell in love with her game. And she's even better live than she was on film, which doesn't happen all too often, to be honest with you. But I was even more impressed with her live. So Ella Ladine, big stock up. Missouri Phenom made a deep run, beat on a lot of people that just kind of came out of nowhere. And Samaya Nichols was the linchpin of that.
Yep.
Playmaker, made shots, whole nine. And then one young kid before we go, Zagaya Johnson. Me and Mark watched her together, Kentucky Premier 2025. She's really, really good. There's no huge weakness. She can shoot it. She gets to the hole. She's physical enough, and she had the confidence at 17U to be Kentucky Premier's lead player. It was on her shoulders as a 25.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with Zagaya.
Well, and we saw her against Team Takeover, you know, who is pressure and athletes and stuff. And you would have never guessed she was a 25.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, and she was just calm, cool, collective, scored in the post, hit threes, handled the ball. I mean, it was not Cypher. Kentucky Premier was definitely a different team when she wasn't on the floor. So big shouts to her. I saw Samaya. You talk about Phenom. Great tournament for them. And Samaya was great. A couple other names, other names that I wrote down. One, 2023 carries Baker with Exodus.
Ben Baker's daughter.
Yes, she was phenomenal. Shot the ball really, really well. I think we saw them play pro skills, and without her, they lose that game. And so she had a great, impressive showing. I guess a find. I'd kind of seen her, but they didn't play well. The West Coast Premier was 2023 Aria Long.
Yes, I watched her on Sunday.
And the matchup was her and Fairfax. So it was her and Kiki and stuff. Nice. And I mean, she had it going on. I mean, she was very, very impressive. West Coast Premier got that win, and a big part was her contributions. And so very, very impressive with her there. And then another young kid that I saw was 2025 Nyla Brooks with Boo Williams. And I watched her a little bit when they beat Cal Storm. And just, she's on the 16U team. I'm getting games mixed up. But another impressive prospect to kind of watch and see there. And so, you know, it was a great week for all of us to get through the EYBL. I think, Jay, you got one more to add?
Well, and I was just going to say shout out to the EYBL on the live stats. That allowed Bob to give the information live. I mean, it was so
I haven't looked yet, but I'm hoping those box scores, I would imagine they're still up.
I would think.
And then I think those games are on Synergy, so we can actually take a comparative dive into that.
Yep.
And Adidas, that's something we're going to be doing here pretty soon.
Yeah.
Before we just wrapping them up, a couple of young ones: Madison Booker, Cassandra Prosper, Mackenzie Nelson. This is all 16U. Aaliyah Chavez on that 16U level. All those really good.
Prosper's teammate is like a more athletic, taller Kate Reese.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Toby Fournier.
Yeah, Toby. Yeah. And
we've all seen
videos of her dunking and stuff. But definitely some really good young prospects there in that 16U division. So shout out to the EYBL for a good 5 days there. And it was different having the boys, and you know, the schedule was kind of 1-2, 1-1-1. It's kind of a little wompy, but what that made for was kids got plenty of rest. And as we got to the end of the tournament, people were fresher, so you had better games. And so
in my shame moment, I turn around watching Takeover and
Exodus.
I turn around, and right behind me, 2 feet behind me, is Dr. J. I almost fainted. I mean, unbelievable. But yeah, he just perched over me.
Somebody texted me and was like, Jason's asleep in Dr. J's lap. What happened?
Oh, that was awesome, man.
Oh my gosh.
It was pretty cool. And then I want to take a quick second to say thanks for the hospitality from
Absolutely.
Liz Friedman with Nike, and then the Paragon Group who did the production for the EYBL that was on TV, from Rashid Ghazi to Paul Bronstetter. I mentioned Adam Finkelstein was fantastic. So thanks for the prep, thanks for the opportunity, and thanks for the hospitality. They kept just, you hit the ground running when you got there, get your information and go. And so that was great. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk in game. We're going to talk Under Armour, then kind of wrap our summer. And so stay with us right after this. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for staying with us through the break. We've talked Adidas, we've talked EYBL. Now we got to get to Under Armour. And so Jason had the chance to go up there from Augusta. And so Jay, fill us in. How was the event?
Man, great event. Matt Shocking crew, always on point. I love the Pennsylvania, Manheim, Pennsylvania stop. It's kind of like a basketball oasis. If you build it, they will come type situation. And I think of Field of Dreams. It's like Court of Dreams. It's out in cornfields. And this is what we do. We got a huge facility. So anyway, great facility, great competition. Under Armour's done a really good job of building their circuit. Really good stylistically. Had a clash in the championship, 17 championship with FBC, the family, which is the young FBC teams, versus Minnesota Fury, who executes and shoots the snot out of the ball. Great game. I thought the Fury would probably win just because they're a little older than that young FBC group, and they execute in that. But the family pulled it out 62-55 in a back and forth game, completely full of college coaches. Fury with Holder and Hockey. They got quite a few 22s that are already committed. Older group that really executes. And I don't think you're allowed in a Fury practice if you can't shoot. It's what they do. Yeah, whether you're big, whether you're a guard or you're a 5 or whatever, you're going to be able to shoot. And so a very competitive game. FBC, the family, really got after it. Ava Watson, I believe, hit unofficially 5 threes. It may have been 6 after getting. She was one of the focus in the semifinal game it was FBC versus FBC against the older team. They really stayed on her. She got loose a few times and she made all of them count with at minimum 5 threes. Joyce Edwards, her ability to rebound, guard multiple positions, hit shots in that free throw area, that 15 to 18 foot area, invaluable. Along with being an elite athlete, she brings a lot to the table. Hit a lot of mid-range jumpers that it felt like Fury was giving her a little bit, and she made them pay. And then the inside combo of Ella Hobbs and Mallory Collier, pounding the boards, beating you up down low when they get one-on-one situations and scoring. And then Jelani Cambridge and Z Jones, Zachariah Jones. Jelani Cambridge was off the charts in that championship game. Just her ability to make plays in the open court and facilitate for others. Great championship game, maybe the game of the year. In the conversation, there's probably 5 to 10 games that would have that claim. With FBC versus FBC, the older versus the younger, with Ladson and Gilbert, and Full Wiley and Spearman and all the kids we know. And the family, the younger kids, especially Z Jones, they were on flat. They were not going to lose that game. And you can see the young kids really wanted that win and got it. Fury beat Wisconsin Flight. Same kind of situation. Wisconsin Flight shoots the crap out of the ball. So them and Fury executing each other. So really good event, really good. 16U Wisconsin Flight 16U beat BTR 71-66. Flight has a couple of young shooters. I hope Ali Sabel and Macy Donarski, you may know that last name. Lexi Donarski's little sister shot the ball really well. BTR with Kaya Smith, 2024, who has multiple SEC and Big 12 offers. And 2025, Sanaya Richardson, who we know locally really well. We've seen Sanaya a lot over the years. So a lot of good young talent. You know, Kaylin Carroll at Bay State. Amaya Holmes at BTR. She's a young 26. Kelsey Edwards, FBC has a young one, 6'5", Kelsey Edwards, 2026. She's going to be really good, 6'4", 6'5". Can't leave without mentioning Talia Scott. Probably the best gym in the guard. I mean, I said it, probably the best guard in the gym. I said it backwards. Oh, that was awesome. Probably the best guard in the gym. I said best gym in the guard. That's awesome. Shot off the bounce, she could shoot it, man. So as she learns to distribute more and more and just take the matchups where they are,
the balance.
Great for others, man, she can play. Alexandra Blue, also with FGB, very good, 2024. Anaya Foy, 2025, that's jumped on my radar for the Houston Defenders. Had a really good tournament. If you don't know the name Olivia Olson, I will go ahead and find that.
Yeah.
Now, most every major college was there, so I know they know because I watched. They were on the same baseline I was on, but Olivia Olson is special. Very good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Caitlin
Which will lead
Maseko.
to another topic later, which is the levels of with the 3 circuits comparatively how hard that is now. Because watered down sounds negative, and that's not how I mean it. But it's not always 10 D1s on the floor at a time. You know what I mean? So like that's it's just interesting side note for another time when we're not going through the summer.
That's the truth of it. That's the truth of it. Especially with there's certain because of state rules, there's certain clubs that they play they're age specific, and just everybody. Olivia Olson's above people her age for the most part.
Yeah.
She's one of the better 24s in the
it's
country.
She and Madison Booker to me are the 2 biggest examples of you have to forgive us for our curiosity wanting to know what it would be like if they were like some of the other kids in their class playing 17U. Right. And it has nothing to do with how good they are. They're pretty good. Right. We just, you'd like to know a little bit more about them, and it speaks to knowing more about them through adversity than through success. And that's the point that I'm making.
And then just to wrap it up, Kamara Johnson, 23, and Dariana Alexander, West Virginia Thunder. Dariana was really good, 25. So loaded event, a lot of good kids, really good games. I thought the style of basketball play being played really, really good. We had some really good coaching going on there. Really good adjustments being made from defensively, especially switching up zones and that kind of thing. Just anything you can do to mess with your opponent. So, and man, as we leave every tournament that Mo's at, man, is he loaded. I mean, he's got kids upon kids upon kids. Goodness gracious.
Well, and kids upon kids, FBC Reign, which is another team in his organization, won the 15Us there at Under Armour. And so kids upon kids upon kids. Well, I had the opportunity to go to catch 2 other events. I went to the end game that we hosted there at Lake Point, and really good. We had a lot of Adidas teams come over, but independents and a couple of great matchups. Saw Jason Kidd select play New Heights. And a great game back and forth, quality guard play, 2 players that really played well for me. 2022, Ara Young, and I'd seen her a couple of times, and I was like, I kind of like her. She does, but she was really good in this game, making defensive plays, handling the ball. Savea Sellers had to play with an Alaska team, and so Young was thrown into being more the lead guard, and she played really, really well. And then for New Heights, Aaliyah Del Rosario, which we've seen a ton, but she's growing in her own. And unfortunately, that team's a little up and down, right? But for that event, and I caught her multiple times, she played very well and was consistent. And there were stretches in that game that when she was in, they would just pound the ball. Thank you. Finally.
Finally.
Yes, exactly. And she was over right shoulder, left shoulder, fighting for position and just really, really well. It's one of the better games I had personally seen her. So that was a really great matchup. Another one was Team Lex Nation or Team Nation, Joey's group, and they took on FBC EYBL from Minnesota. And really a great game. And that FBC group has Maya Najee that's going to Arizona, and Savannah White that I hadn't seen a lot, who's going to Wisconsin. She was very impressive in that matchup. And then we know Joey's group, but one person, for me, I don't always get to see them, but they're kind of up and down. But one person who is really growing into her own is Kylie Marshall. And I know y'all spoke highly of Kylie. I haven't always, just because I'm waiting for lights to come on. But there were stretches in that game and the next couple of games where she finally was like, I'm the best kid on the floor. I can go get a bucket, right? And so if it was a three or a pull up, which she's got a silky nice pull up and elevates on it. But for me, she was impressive in how her maturation is going throughout the summer, which is great for me to see. Another highlight from the event was Louisiana Flames, and that was a new organization. I was kind of like, okay, who are these guys? But they're coached by Nakia Jones. And so for me, I walked in, they were playing on court, what was that, 9 or 10 in the back corner. So when you come in from the college entrance, they were there, and I'm like, that's Nakia Jones. And which I watched and interviewed a bunch working with Premier, and it was just cool to watch her coach. And I had to give her a hard time, and I did later, but there's a time in the game where the other team got fouled, and so the 2 were in for the free throw. The other 3, she pulled over to them, and in the middle of the game, she made them do push-ups. And so, they're over there doing push-ups, and so I'm chuckling. I'm standing behind the bench. I'm laughing. So I went to her later. I said, now, Nakia, I love that you're holding them accountable. But like I know, you would have never done push-ups in a game. And she's like, oh, no, I would never. I
watched her do it when they got subbed at Prime Event South, but not in game. Not in game.
It was just awesome. It was cool to see her there coaching, and she was doing a heck of a job instructing them during the game, handling subs, and it's always cool to watch those who have played to come back and give. And she was telling me about the program that she's starting and how many teams, and so excited to see her. So that was just a cool thing there. But a couple players from the event that I saw that caught my eye: 2024 Faith Wiseman for Indiana Platinum, 6'4", really fluid player. So she's a promising kid to keep. And I mean, Indiana Elite has to go through Indiana and find every kid that's 6'2" or taller. I mean, because on the same team, they had a 6'5" kid. I mean, it was just incredible. Every single one of their teams had a big kid.
They have a lot of size, 16s, 15s. I noticed that. I think they were all at Prime Event Midwest. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, which team is that? And I look, and I'm like, that can't be right. They're humongous.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And they got some younger sisters of a couple kids too that are going to be pretty good.
Yeah. So, Faith's going to be a fun one to watch. Another kid is 2024 Leah Barnes, plays for Candace Parker Hoop Dreams Elite. She usually plays up on their 22 team, but this event she was playing down with their 24s. And so she caught my eye. I hadn't really seen her very well. And then one more, 2023 Taylor Woodson for Minnesota Metro Stars. They got second in Adidas, and she carried over. So I saw them. They literally left that morning, drove in, got literally off out of the cars and played J Kid Select. Or no, they played New Heights. But she was impressive. And she's always been a good player, but you can see her maturation going, being able to score in a variety of ways. Jumpers looking really good. And so she was a standout there. And so big shout out, and we appreciate all the teams and college coaches who came in and attended the end game. There's kind of the end of the summer, wrapping it up in Atlanta. So we appreciate everybody coming there. One other, I got to stop by War Games. And shout out to Mo and John McGraw for putting that event together, and really probably saw one of the best games all summer with FBC United took on Arkansas Mavs in a great game, back and forth. And I heard numerous like head coaches who were like, this is the best game I saw all summer. Back and forth, guard play, inside. Mavs won by 5. But Ogden went down with FBC. Shortly thereafter, Michaela Williams, who's had a great summer, went down with the twisted ankle. And so it was kind of, okay, who's going to step up? And for the Mavs, it was Darian Buggs. And I've seen Darian Buggs a lot for years. And I've always thought she was a great player. I mean, she was hands down the best kid on the floor. Hands down. Pull-ups, jumpers, off the dribble, off the catch, rebounds. I mean, you could tell that she wanted it. And really just a great game back and forth, which was super, super impressive. And so thanks for John McGraw there for the hospitality there at the War Games. Got to catch up with him. Saw a couple other young kids that are going to be in the report and stuff. But, you know, it was a great stop as I came into Atlanta on my way to Augusta. So shout out to Jay, called me and said, hey, you need to go attend this game. And it was well worth the stop and stuff. And so, but big shout out to there. So, but as we wrap the episode, the end of the second evaluation period, kind of into the summer, let's take maybe one or two players that from the summer probably had the best summer that we can think of. And let's give a shout out to those kids. Thinking first half, all of it. So,
for me, it's Michaela Williams.
Oh, hands down.
Yeah, hands down. She took on all comers, beat all comers, time and again. The other one for me, and she was already elite, but it's Kiki Rice. Kiki Rice may very well be the best player in the country. And so those are the two, in different circumstances, right? Took on all comers with what, under tough circumstances sometimes and not, but she would not back down time and again. And so both of those kids, just when you tell me who sticks out in my mind, it's those two. And then the one young one for me is Olivia Olson. I'm telling y'all, she's good.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the three that just off the top, those are the three that jump out.
Yep. Yeah. Adding to that, Shane?
I mean, echoing Michaela Williams, I was kind of posed a question before the summer started and said, when they were talking about some content for ESPN and they were talking about, okay, could we do a list of 10 best players regardless of class? And my response was, I think right now there's some 23s that haven't separated enough yet. That list will be predominantly 22s. I don't know how entertaining or whatever it would be, because it would basically be just the 2022 list. I would say there's an argument to be made that Michaela Williams could be the best player eventually of any player in any class right now. I'm not saying I think it's 100% true. I'm saying you could have that discussion. So I'm echoing Michaela Williams. I'm getting behind Sierra Toomey. Kiki Rice, I mentioned, I agreed with you guys, has made an argument to be the number one kid. All three of those kids have really made players, I should say, have made an argument to be the number one player in their class. I think Jelani Cambridge did. I think Jason mentioned Olivia Olson. Isabella Fauntleroy, back, healthy, stuck to rehab, was patient through a tough spring, came back in July with a vengeance. athleticism, skills, motor, attitude, intangible, winner. Really like her. Happy for her. And then Chloe Kitts, Central Florida Elite. First got a live look. I did. Jay, you saw her at a camp in Florida, right? Kim's camp in Florida in like September, if I'm not mistaken, right? Previous September, right? Talking about a little bit of a funky shot. She came to Wooten in October. The left hand, it was almost it came out of her right hand, but the left hand was really in it. Fast forward to May. You can tell, I knew she had been injured, so she had not been playing a lot before I saw her in Atlanta in May. You could tell she was retooling the shot. The left hand was getting out of it. Okay, May to July, the left hand is now out of the shot. You know how hard that is? You know how much work that takes? Especially if you're a known top level kid and you've got to tweak and experiment with your shot. And then she's good all around, but to do that is super impressive. And I noticed these little details because I noticed it when I first saw her and thought it's awkward, but it's not limiting of her game. But now she's made herself a more consistent shooter because of the consistency of her fundamentals of the shot. I'm trying to think of, Amari Whiting out of NWBA had a great summer. True point guards are very important in women's basketball. She's a true point guard. I mentioned Olivia McGill. Find me, there's a lot of competitive kids, but find me a more competitive kid than Olivia McGill. Delaney Gibb is a 16U kid for NWBA that just knows how to play. I believe, Mark, you mentioned to me she's got some Canada roots. She's been in that system. Montaya Dew is like super Scottie Pippen, like the way I called Alyssa Crockett Tony Kukoc. I think I call Montaya Dew Scottie. Maybe we can sprinkle in Michaela Williams in there, can play the role of MJ, and then we'll find a redheaded big, could be Luke Longley, and we can keep this thing going. But those are the ones that jump out. I've got some kids, that you don't want to sleep on, some 22s that I think are pretty good. So I think Jay might have to go jump on his flight. I think he had to board at 3:30, so he's boarding. Trying to think who else. I think we mentioned a lot of the others. Paulina Paris led the EYBL in scoring. I'm going to go take a deep dive into those stats because I saw a couple like scoring but high volume games. So I'd like to take a look at that. But she had to do some heavy lifting, so it's impressive. I mean, you lead the EYBL in scoring, it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sanaya Latson proved to be like lockdown defender,
right?
Potentially of the summer. And
she did a great job on against Michaela Williams in that matchup.
She was ready for that.
Do that, yeah. Well, and I talked to Sasha Palmer, before after the game, we were kind of talking, and she said the one player who went and scouted the Mavs with her was Latson.
Mm-hmm.
So she was ready. There's a couple
people
times
are texting that they've been having conversations with her about what are you going to do, and she said, "I'm going to compete and I'm going to prepare." Like that's the answer.
Yeah.
And
you could tell that she did because she picked her pocket a couple times and she just timed the dribble. Like you could see her early, and she made Michaela Williams uncomfortable off the dribble because she picked her pocket. I think it was like 3 or 4 times, especially early, that she had just timed it and just picked her pocket. So absolutely. And really the list could go on and on. One kid for me from a mid-major level that I really liked was Tatum West from HG Elite. And we've talked about her, the 23. Talk about motor of all motors. I mean, she's on the floor, relentless rebounding. And so, there's so many kids that had such a great summer. But I think the best thing about it is it was a normal summer. We had college coaches out. They got evaluated. You can't tell you how many coaches told me that, man, the game film is not always the truth. She wasn't as big, or she was bigger than I thought, or she wasn't as athletic, or more as athletic. And at the end of the summer, really the big celebration is that coaches got to see players live, and the evaluation periods, as we know, in early and late July happened. And we were able to all get home. There wasn't a big COVID outbreak or anything because of all of it. And so, hey, hats off to everybody, parents and players and directors and teams and college coaches and everybody to be able to make July what it is. And I know.
Well, and to your point, and understandable, right? They went a long time without being able to watch players, and coaches don't like to feel behind. Some of them do their own thing. They trust their stuff because they've been successful. And you've got a lot of coaches that, to me, I think, haven't established like their foundation of how they're going to operate yet. And a lot of programs that don't necessarily. And so there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses. And I think a lot of them watched film and got sold. They have to have a filter for what they take in on social media.
Yep.
And they have to have a filter. Like these club coaches, of course, they mean well, but they're not going to undersell their kids. In fact, the majority greatly oversell, especially consistency, because they remember the couple times that it was this way instead of the 8 times out of the 10 that it wasn't great, right? And again, I'm not knocking them, but I'm tired of selling. Like, let the play happen. You know what I mean? And then don't duck. And so most don't duck, but a lot of them do duck. And they rely on, they talk on social media about who's got the relationships, who's got this. Guys, their job is to have a relationship with you. They're not going to scold you over the phone. So like, club guys got to have a filter too. You know, they don't like you as much as you think they do. Not like that. They don't dislike you, but it's not.
No, but
still get better as a coach, get better as a preparation. Advise your players to go to a level in which they will have the best experience, both basketball wise, educationally, environmentally. It's not for everybody. You and I were talking about a player that we know really well that we don't have to name. And I thought you nailed the other. You and I were driving, right? I'm driving back to Atlanta. You're driving clear across the country. And we talked for an hour and a half, and it was great. And I thought you nailed it, talking about the particular player and the kind of program and the kind of coach she's going to need to look for. Just because, and again, this is one that we know personally, right? So it's a little bit easier to kind of nail it. But these things are important, and we're talking experience, and then life experience. And then sometimes how these people will view themselves because of that experience. So the overselling wears me out, and I don't like it. And, you know, I'm kind of contrarian anyway, so I'm a little immune to it. But I wish coaches would, I think the video and coaches coming back being like, well, the video lied. And I'm like, the video didn't lie. It was not, you can't tell everything you want. It's the video plus your conversation plus the hype game that you like to play to keep everybody warm that convinced you to pull the trigger on some things that you shouldn't have. So own up to that responsibility, because the transfer portal, the number one factor in the transfer portal is how coaches act during recruiting. And I had a lot of conversations with coaches about how they're devaluing their own scholarships by throwing them out to a 7th grader.
Yeah, and we've already had an episode on that. But, you know, and we're probably going to have to do an episode on this as far as the value of the hype guys and how this is coming into the women's side. And so there's so much more that we can talk about. But we'll have more episodes. You know, the prime event is coming up. And so we'll have a lot of exciting news coming up about that. But hey, we appreciate you tuning in. Once again, shout out to all the players and parents and college coaches and directors and tournament directors and club directors. We got a July. That's just an awesome feeling. For everybody who's posting offers and those who aren't posting offers, hey, congratulations on your offers. But it's not done now. Like, the work has really begun. So now you have to live up to expectations.
Recovery is part of the work, having a plan of action for what's next, limiting yourself, listening to your body, learning how you could have conditioned better, learning how you can eat better and hydrate better. It's all part. That's the discipline part. That's the grind part. The grind part isn't like playing till you physically ache.
Right.
The grind part is being disciplined enough to make it your priority. And there's a lot of ways to do that. And we'll talk about that another day. How about USA basketball 3-on-3, bringing home the gold this morning, set the alarm for 2:55 a.m., watched the semi at 3, took a little nap, watched the final at, I think it was like 7:55, beat France, which was tough, and then beat Russia, which was awesome. Very physical game. I can't wait to introduce some more of those kinds of play and events. I hope people watch them, at least on the DVR. We got 5-on-5 Friday versus Japan, and then Monday versus France. And I think they get into the gold medal rounds after that. U19 start on August 7th. U16 start August 16th.
Now they changed it.
Oh,
Now,
what is it now?
A little update on under 16s.
All right, date.
Let me pull it up real quick. The dates have shifted, and actually the location has shifted.
All right.
Which, if you talked to me about it, I had told you it was coming. There it is.
You did.
It is August 23rd through the 29th, and it is in Guanajuato City, just north of Mexico City. So, global international subscribers, there'll be information coming out. Probably the best way to travel there, because I've traveled to Mexico, many times. And so, even though Shane's like, you don't need to go to Mexico City.
No mystery Ubers for Mark, but he has done that before. Another day.
Yeah.
That's
I
for
have
another day.
quite the story, a couple stories ago. But yeah, so under 16s, August 23rd through the 29th, they're going to do a training camp in DC before they go. And so FIBA moved it so everybody could come. And so Chile was still being hesitant. And so good call there by FIBA Americas to be able to still host the event. And so European under 18 challengers have started this week. And so, information is going out to global international subscribers there. And so it's
Mark
good.
doesn't miss a beat. I'm telling you, I had a lot of discussions. People asked me about that stuff. I said, call Mark. He's not going to miss a beat. And they're like, that's on my list for after July. So I can only imagine your phone's blowing up, and I can't wait to hear about it, because that's where I get my information too.
There you go. And under 19s heads out probably Thursday or Friday. I know some other nations are coming in. And so good luck to USA Basketball there in Hungary. I know some college coaches that are going over there to support some of their players that are there. I know some that are in Greece right now and under 18s and all over stuff. And so, and then under 16 Europeans will be after that. So still a lot of basketball. So a lot of basketball. So we're on top of it all, whether it's in the States or around the world. And so, but we appreciate you tuning in, and more info and stuff on that as we go. And I appreciate Shane and Jason hopping in between flights there, Jason, and stuff. And so we appreciate you tuning in. But for Shane Laflin, Jason Key, I'm Mark Williams, and we're coming to you from the baseline.